Good morning, it's Valerie Ling, clinical psychologist here, coming to you live from a morning walk. I am delivering a webinar at 1 o'clock today on beating burnout, and I was finding myself stuck in a whole bunch of negative self-talk. Yes, it happens because a whole bunch of health professionals are going to be either listening to the webinar live or getting the recording. And you know, when you get into that moment of the temptation to self-sabotage yourself is so real. And I woke up early and I thought that the drive to self-sabotage was to don't have breakfast, hop onto the computer, because as if that's going to do a whole bunch of good for me if I just go research. I really don't know what I'm talking about. I need to hear what other people are saying and put it all into space. And then when you go and look what other people are saying, then you think, oh my gosh, they're saying it so much better than me. Who am I? What am I doing? Anyways, I recognized the self-sabotager in me and knew that I had to step out into a reflective space and actually go for a walk. And I chose a destination. Here it is. If you know where this is, please keep it to yourself because I don't want the world to know where I am necessarily this morning. But I've come to one of my favorite spots to go for a walk. And the destination was as important to me as the journey, because this is not a close place for me to walk to, but the reward is amazing. I never ever regret it. So I want to tell you a story. As I was walking, I have put on my favorite piece of music at the moment. I'm really into listening to the cello. It's like this old groaning soul that is melodic, and it made me think of music and song. So I'm going to tell you a story. Psychology was not my first choice of a profession. My first love is music. And for as long as I can remember, I have wanted to be a professional musician in some capacity. And the story starts with a story of a 4-year-old who couldn't resist playing on any type of piano or keyboard even then, even when my feet couldn't reach the pedals. But I was remembering a story of when I was actually 16, and many years, every year we would do a competition, and you know, you'd start really little when you were 10 or 11, and you'd play these delightful pieces and everybody would give you a clap. But it would get to the stage where it start to compete with your high school studies, and you really need to make that decision. Am I going to keep going with these competitions? And I was 16 at this time, and my music teacher was not a fan of these competitions. In fact, every year he would just groan and say, oh, there's no point to these things. All they do is they, pretty you up and put you on a stage and make you play all kinds of fancy things that really doesn't develop you as a person or as a musician. And this was one such year. Where again he was like, oh, all right, we'll do it, but I don't really want to do it, but let's just pick something for you. And that might have been a year maybe when my music tastes had maybe developed a little bit more, so I had an expression perhaps of what I would like to play. And I think he caught on that, and we chose a piece, and it was fairly technical, but to be honest, it wasn't going to win any competition because it didn't have all the kinds of trills and turns and fancy stuff that some of the other pieces would definitely have. Nevertheless, we chose it, and I got through at that point, the music school level and won. Then I got through the city level and won. And then I got through the regional level and won. And I think by this stage, my music teacher realized that we were committed now to go to the next stage, and we went to the state level. Now, through the sort of the city, regional, and state level, there was one judge that adjudicated those 3 levels, and I guess he observed even at the city level that he enjoyed my piece and he could see potential in my playing, but he made a couple of comments, and his comments weren't so much about the whiz-bang features of the song or how to use the instrument, but he was really talking about the melody. And he said that, I really wish that there was another part to the piece that you were playing where that melody really just comes out. And my music teacher caught on to this, And we didn't develop any more whiz-bang parts for me, but he wrote an additional melody, a one-page additional melody for me to put into that piece. And when he played it for me, I was taken to another place. It was just mesmerizing. And of course, the gift that he had composed it himself, that was such a gift for me to actually hear him. Not just what was in his head, but as a music teacher, you don't often get to show your musicality, but this was really showing his musicality in the composition piece that he put in. We got to state level and we played this new version of the piece, and the judge writes in his comments a lot about the melody of the piece and how it just sang through the crowd, etc. I didn't win. In fact, I made a lot of mistakes. I was so nervous that I pretty much botched it up from the beginning, right? But that was a wonderful moment for me. The song became the joy. And that song was communicated, I suppose, for me, to different segments. Number one, my music teacher and I connected at a level that we were speaking another language, and we were having a conversation that was definitely musical. The judge and I probably had a connection. It wasn't so much anymore about mastery of the instrument or dazzling the audience. It was really taking his criticism and his input and creating a piece of music that would come alive, connecting with the audience, that they would listen to something that was toe tapping, a little bit, it would make you move in your seat. It was pretty good. And finally, between me and my instrument, it restored me back to a space where it wasn't about mastering the instrument per se, but working with the instrument to create a song. If you've ever worked with musicians or know musicians, they are very perfectionistic. And I'll tell you where that perfectionism comes from. First of all, you feel that you are not worthy of the song because the song was written by someone great. Then you don't feel worthy of the instrument that you play because that instrument comes from a history, okay, a history of protégés and people who have given dignity to the instrument. You also don't feel worthy of the composer, the person who has put the music in your hands. So there's all these bits and pieces of perfectionism as a musician. It's not just about making the mistake when you get on stage and being evaluated and being seen as a phony. And I think there's a lot of parallels when you're a healthcare worker. We can get so stuck in the mechanics, and we can get so stuck in whether we know our stuff, whether we know our stuff as well as the person next to us. We can get so stuck in the paradigms of whether we are, we've got the right paradigms, have we got the best evidence, are we actually really providing the on-point thinking in the situation. And after a while, we lose sight of the song, the thing that connects us, our humanity, our sense of meaning, our sense of dignity, a sense of integrity. And yes, we have to be diligent with the knowledge and the technicalities and all that we bring. But at the same time, we don't have to see our evaluators or our judges as judging you for being a fake or a phony, right? We can actually join in the song together to say that if we all do this together and we contribute, the song that is heard by our community, the melody that rings out, will bring life and joy and meaning. And it takes us away then from seeing mistakes as being fatal, as being self-defining. I'm a phony psychologist, I'm not a good psychologist, I'm a lousy doctor, I'm a pathetic nurse. No. It takes us away from that, and it focuses back on how we can connect and bring a meaningful song, an uplifting melody to the people that we serve, and that we, in that space, we are connected to that song as well. We grow, we develop, we I talk about inspiration, aspiration, right? So there's artistry in what we do as healthcare providers, and there's also science, and we need both, because in our world we are the instrument, aren't we? We are the instrument. So we have to take care of the instrument, but we've also got to attend to the song. That's all from me. See you later.